Hi, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning. I don't know how the weather is for you guys where you're at, but the sun shines out today, so I am super pumped about that. It's nice to see the sun for once.
Yes.
Just ready for the time zone change because when I go out, it's still really dark, but it's after 7 a.m. So I didn't even know it was sunny. I had to turn around and look. It's been outside.
That's how it is for us here too.
Yeah, the sun doesn't come up till about 7:45.
But we're on the down end of that, so that's a great thing, or really an up end, right?
Yeah.
But we have big snowflakes, and it's no sun whatsoever.
Oh, well, I would take snow too. I
Yeah.
like to look out and see the clean white. It's pretty. I'm just going to give a minute or two here for everybody to get in the room. We've got some people still coming in here.
Good morning.
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 As you guys are coming in here, feel free to drop your LinkedIn profiles in the chat or any type of email or in contact with you. We definitely want to connect with everyone here today, so feel free to do that in the chat anytime during the presentation.
Okay, Pat, we just asked everybody about the weather. You're in California. Tell us, what's it like?
Well, right now it's very dark.
Okay, here it is. So, thank you for joining us.
Sorry. Actually today it's supposed to be 70 degrees.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Joy.
that's
Yeah, so I'm actually up here in Silicon Valley.
Okay, very nice.
wow.
It will not be 70 here in Central Illinois.
It's not normal. This is not normal. Like my daughter keeps on saying, global warming, Mom, of course. And I'm like,
Yep.
some winters are warmer. Last winter was a lot colder and rainy. It fluctuates. So yeah, we're enjoying the 70.
Good.
Good.
Okay, Mark,
Thanks
how
for
about
joining us so early.
yeah? How about Tennessee, Mark?
I don't know. I haven't been outside.
Okay, Tom, Andrea, Kristin, everybody ready to go?
Yes.
Can I get going here? Okay. As you can see on this first slide, my name is April Saliba. I'm a virtual assistant, and I was so kindly asked to kind of just get this party started. So I do a plethora of things. There's not a task that I'm not afraid to tackle. So if you're in the need of a virtual assistant, just hit me up. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram. But I would be happy to talk to you guys. So I'm just going to jump right in. And first of all, I just want to welcome everybody. We're so happy that you took time out of your day today to be with us. It means a lot, and I really think you're going to walk away from here with some valuable information that I don't know, it's going to feed what you need, I think. So welcome. We're glad you're here. Just a few things to kind of go over logistics-wise as we go through the presentation. First of all, if everyone wouldn't mind to just stay muted, it just helps with the process of everything. I know sometimes when you're at home or at work, there's a dog or a kid or anything in the background. So, and that can kind of distract from the microphones going on. So if you could stay muted, that'd be great. We would love your engagement. Please, if you have questions, if you have comments or suggestions or anything as we go along, drop them in the chat. We are going to have a Q&A session at the end. and we will try to address all of those questions for you guys. And then we are also going to record this session as we go. So as we go back and go through everything and all of the slides, you can reference anything that you're learning here today, and listen to the discussion as we go along as well. So also, I know I mentioned this at the beginning in the waiting room and as people are joining us, but please drop your LinkedIn profile, your email, anything that we can get in touch with you and others can get in touch with you. I mean, we're here today to learn, but we're also here to network and to meet each other, and to just expand who we know and our network. So isn't that the point of Zoom these days in this virtual world? So again, we welcome you and thank you for being here. So next, what I'd like to do is just introduce the panel. Our first panel member is Angie Redmon. Angie, I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Great, thank you, April. Hello, everyone, and welcome to part one of our two-part series on building new strategies for people and culture in 2021. And we're so excited to have you here today. I am, as she mentioned, Angie Redmon. I'm the president of Strive HR. And at Strive HR, we partner with organizations in their aspiration to create an award-winning workplace. And we do that through a focus on employee engagement and workplace culture. And we guide our clients through that process of applying for awards such as Best Places to Work and Top Workplaces, to name a few, and then support them through the full analysis of the findings and strategies for improvement. And I'm pleased to announce that I'm also offering a one-on-one mentor program where I work with HR professionals who are trying to navigate through that mountain of responsibilities that they have while they're still developing and creating and growing that strategic business partner relationship with their organizations. So I'm excited to share content with all of you today on people strategy and your journey and your organization's journey to how they can focus on continuous improvement. I've been in HR for over 25 years and have helped many organizations with the development of their execution of people strategies. And I've been in that seat of an HR department of one on up to growing HR teams that support the strategic direction of organizations. So I'm looking forward to sharing with you ideas
Is that us, Jimmy?
And hope that they can benefit you in the upcoming year.
Great. Well, I will jump in. I am Andrea Bjorkman. Good morning and welcome. And I am in, as I said earlier, Central Illinois, so Bloomington, Illinois, not Indiana. I always have to say that for my Indiana friends. After spending 30 plus years in corporate executive leadership roles, most recently at State Farm, which is headquartered here in Bloomington, I've been in human resources, marketing, advertising, sales, operations, product management, and consulting. But last year, I joined a growth stage startup called Naxter Global as the CEO and co-founder. So what's Naxter? So when you have a knack for something, people always ask what that name means. And then when we explain it, they go, oh, okay. So it's a digital platform for adults 55 plus that connects users to jobs online, allowing them to earn, volunteer, or share. It's built to shatter society's expectations that retirees slow down. Naxter uses innovative technology to create opportunities for the retired while serving small businesses, nonprofits, corporations, and families. It's more than a platform. It's a solution to the silver tsunami's repercussions on the labor market. And our favorite hashtag is never retire from life. I'm looking forward to hearing the issues. I'll be leading the first breakout session where we're going to talk about the issues, barriers, or roadblocks that you are seeing with your people strategy. And obviously our ultimate goal is helping each other advance that strategy. So looking forward to it.
Great. I'll jump in after that. I love that introduction, Andrea. And Naxter Global has, it's been fun to learn about it, having older parents that live nearby. I know it's so needed, especially in these isolating times. So I appreciate that. But hello, everyone. My name's Kristin Stapleton, and my company, Amplify 3X, helps companies facilitate change at increasing speed. And while none of us would have anticipated what we've gone through the last year and a half, it definitely feels like the right place to be at the right time. Launched my company just before we all got shut down. And it kind of felt like that was just the right time to do that. So I got here because I spent 10 years in a health and wellness space coaching executive leaders. And during that time, what I realized is that culture really starts and stops with great leadership. And so I had a chance with a couple of clients who asked me to come in and work with their teams on their culture defining moments and lead leaders throughout the organization. And I absolutely fell in love with it. And I've gone full in on that process ever since then. So my experience has spanned both large and small organizations, Fortune 500 companies, as well as nonprofits. My true heart is in servant leadership, and I really believe our country absolutely needs more of this right now. I feel very called to do this work, and I know that there are so many great leaders out there, and I'm looking forward to connecting with each of you and each of them and building a better workplace for all of us because we deserve it. So thank you so much for being here. We look forward to hearing what your challenges are and just meeting more people, because like we all said in our call, yes, we work on our own, but it doesn't feel like that because of instances like this and meeting great people like you. So thanks so much.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Tom. Happy to be working alongside all these brilliant minds. I will tell you that I met each of these individuals through each other, and I'm relatively introverted, so networking and meeting new people doesn't come very easily to me. And this group of women, now April included, so this foursome has just brilliant, innovative ideas. They're tremendous leaders, and I'm beyond privileged to be presenting alongside them today. So a little bit about me. I'm a Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt, which if you're familiar with process improvement, that's like the nerdiest of nerds on the scale of improvement professionals. And the company that I've started, the Green Dot Group, really focuses in on making improvement fun. I think when a lot of people hear about change or process improvement or even project management, they go and look for their garlic. In some ways, they're allergic to it because the way that it's been facilitated has been change to them instead of change by them. So I'm a big proponent for giving people the tools, the skills, and the new thinking that they need in order to facilitate change. And a lot of that focuses in on, yes, training and developing people, but it's also mentorship and coaching and celebrating every milestone that those individuals make as they move through and execute their projects. So that's where I get a lot of joy, is to see individuals identify opportunities within their processes and be able to address them and overcome them and reap the benefits on the other side, whether it's more joy in their work or better service to their customers or improved business results. I love to see when that momentum starts to happen within organizations. So I'll be kind of moderating and moving us through each of the breakout sessions. And to get us to our first breakout session, I think we need to start with why and talk about, at a high level, what it is we're going to do today, what's our agenda, and then really why are we here together. So every improvement starts with a problem, and what we need to do is stop using the word problem and kind of restate it more as an opportunity. With that opportunity in mind, some people are motivated to move in that direction. Others, they need a stronger business case or more information in order to act. So we want to talk about some things that can be done or some information that really is compelling to help create that shared need and shape that vision. And then I think sometimes as you look at that and the journey ahead, it can be quite intimidating. So it's fun to talk about organizations that are on the journey and are already doing really good things and learning from them. And hopefully that gives us some shortcuts along the way so that we can work a little bit smarter instead of a little bit harder. We do need to do a reality check, though. We can't just have this grand vision and be looking up to all these role models without doing a thorough assessment of where we are and what we can be doing to get a little bit better. So we'll be providing tools to conduct a self-assessment and then towards the end, we'll wrap up our session and we'll start to talk about session 2 and what our focus is for that date. So,
Tom,
yes,
Tom,
Kristin.
Can you share your screen? I'm not seeing.
Let me reshare it.
I see a slide that says 71% on it.
Were you seeing the slides prior, which were April? Did the group see the April's contact information? And
yeah, we're seeing the slides, Tom.
okay, I apologize if you weren't, but we will also send out the slides via email along with the recorded session after this. So if I wasn't sharing, I'm sorry. Okay. So a lot of individuals know the importance of having an engaged workforce. However, there's oftentimes gaps in how we go about creating that. So we know it's important, but there's so many other things that are important as well. And working on your employee engagement strategy or your human strategy, your people strategy, however you might call it, is oftentimes competing with other priorities. And we want to allow people who are passionate about the human strategy to have the knowledge, the resources they need in order to talk about the importance of having this plan and the details that will make that plan a success. So oftentimes we see a gap of, we know it's important, but we really don't know how to work on it. And because of that, we often aren't working on it. So one of the things that really helps to communicate the need to have a people strategy is the benefit that does. So a lot of research has been done on it. A lot of thought leaders have talked about its importance. And to me, one of the things that I've seen, even in my work, was that when you have engaged and plugged in employees, that morale leads to improved productivity, more joy and satisfaction in their work, more fulfillment in their work, and that translates to a better customer experience. So it is a flywheel, and having happy employees does lead to having happy customers. So that's, why we want to work on this. We know it's important. In order to make progress on it, I think it's a very smart first step to talk about what's preventing us from getting there. So I'll hand it over to Andrea, who will facilitate a breakout session that talks about some of those things that are preventing us from being as good as we want to be.
Hey, great. And while I'm doing this, giving you a brief overview, April will be putting you in rooms and to start your discussion. So I've held various leadership roles in my 17 years at State Farm, and I led and experienced many stages in our employee engagement journey. And State Farm has always had a really good culture for their 98 years. But I led that primarily in a brand new department of about 1,500 people. And it was a separate entity it was State Farm Bank. So it was something we brought in mostly people from outside State Farm who knew nothing about the culture. And we needed to use what the learnings that we had for the entire enterprise and bring them into my department. So I would say we probably took a little longer than we should have to understand the importance of the people strategy. But once we did, we progressed much more quickly. We educated and engaged our leaders so much more. And it's really, and Kristin kind of hit on this in her intro, it's really about getting your leaders educated and engaged, because they're the ones that then need to take it forward to your employees to get them engaged. I wish I had had the opportunity to share and learn, as you all are going to have in just a few moments. So to get the best out of this session, please be as transparent as possible. Also, please select a representative from your room to share your issues, barriers, or roadblocks, and then we'll come back in about 10 minutes. And we'll kind of watch it and see how it's progressing, and then we'll report out and come up with some key themes.
Welcome back, everybody.
Hello.
We have a good discussion. Everyone have some good things to say? All right. We're gonna, from here, hand it over to Andrea. Andrea,
Yep.
all yours.
Yes, thank you. Remind me again how many breakout rooms we had?
We have 3 total.
Okay.
Three participants in each, plus a moderator.
Yep. Great. Thank you. Well, I want to call out my room number 1. That was such a great discussion, and heard so many great things, and loved the perspectives that were shared, the support and the advice that was given. But I'll turn it over to Marcy, who will really give us some details on what we talked about in our room.
Thank you very much, Andrea. Good morning, everyone. We really summarized it down to what is our primary issue for each of us, which was great. We are coming from a different background, a different size of organization, and a different age. So there's one of us who's in a startup environment. If you've ever been in a startup environment, you know it's building an airplane while it's in the air. And so it's that constant demand and drive on firefighting daily, but driving initiatives that make long-term progress. So that's the primary issue for that organization, and remembering to step back and smell the roses, because when we're stuck doing firefighting, we forget that we're actually accomplishing other things as well. The second organization is in a very field-based environment, and it is a male-dominated industry. It happens. Quite frankly, most of our organizations are male dominated, let's be real, but it's more about driving intentionality of connectivity to the field employees who are out there across the state or across the country, and how you do that with intentionality to drive a culture. Truly sounds like they're lacking a leader who is dedicated to ensuring that the highest level stakeholders drive it as well and get it pushed out with intentionality. And then the third organization, that's mine. I'm a behemoth 35,000 employee organization, and we are truly struggling with a lot of pieces as it relates to COVID fatigue. And COVID fatigue for our now working from home associates who aren't accustomed to that, who under the duress of we're now in our 10th month of peak when it should have been a 3-month peak, you start seeing that lack of empathy and that frustration coming through, almost seeing some of the text fights that we tell our kids not to do. You're starting to see those because they're not having to be face to face in the coffee room. And so you're losing some of that empathy and compassion. And then on the essential worker perspective, just that COVID fatigue from we can't get enough workers. The government subsidies have impacted our ability to attract employees, which means the ones who are coming in every day are working extremely long hours and are exhausted and don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. And how do we recognize them in an environment where we now have to provide a boxed lunch as recognition, which is twice the cost, which then you have to, how you accommodate and recognize the essential workers during a time when they are overwhelmed, and those who are working from home who are starting to get cranky because they need to be back in the workplace. They need to see each other and remember that face-to-face is a type of respect everybody deserves, whether you're virtually or not. That's our top issues.
Excellent. Thank you, Marcy. We'll just go in order here. How about room number 2? Who's speaking on behalf of your room? Hello?
I don't know what room.
2? I'm not sure what group I was in.
Yeah, me neither.
But you go ahead. Whoever.
Okay.
Julie, we were 2.
We were 2. Okay. Hi, this is Julie Weisenbach. And so many, very similar discussions, as well from what we just heard from Marcy. The role of the HR leader, you may be an HR leader of 1, or you may be an HR leader of, 10 or 12 in your team. And you both have very, different challenges, but yet very similar challenges. And one of the things that we talked about is, things just simple as rolling out a leadership development. It requires a lot of strategic time to be able to put that together. And then the challenges of how do you roll it out? How do you pull everybody together that's remote, get everyone on the same page, get that leadership buy-in, and get it rolled out. So I think what we're seeing is, organizations maybe have good leadership programs in certain areas and pockets, but yet there's that silo piece that goes on in organizations where this leadership group does it a great way and they do it this way. Another leadership group does it a different way. We also just talked about too, the fire piece, being a fire squad, right? You know, you have every intention of being able to, spend 70% of your time in strategy, but the reality is you're lucky to get 20 to 30% of your time being able to do strategic initiatives. And so being able to balance that and really being able to focus on those strategic leadership. So that was kind of the majority of our discussion.
Thank you, Julie.
Mm-hmm.
And the last room, whatever number that is.
It's
I guess we were group 3. This is Josh Reniker. First of all, I was called young in our group, so that's a win this morning. But outside of that, we talked about there was some discussion on how ownership or very top level maybe putting some things out there that are questionable when it comes to how we are driven to lead the people. So there's some misalignment, I guess, with the with whoever's tasked to lead the people, and then kind of what the vision of at the very top level, which can create some challenges. Me specifically dealing with we have some long tenured people that some people have been here as long as I have, near 15 years, and kind of them viewing me as as a peer and more tactical, and trying to change that mindset a little bit to grow them a bit, because I do see the potential in them, but they may not exactly see me as the person who's there to grow them. I'm more here to make sure the business is profitable and doing the right things. And then just having the other topic was more just having that mindset to change. How do you get people kind of looking positively toward change and not looking at it as a negative? So those are the main topics we talked about.
Great, thank you very much, Josh. Well, this was, I hope you enjoyed the conversations that you had, and obviously connect with everybody and reach out and continue to have the conversations. We will be doing more of that in our second session next week. The themes that I heard were really around understanding the stage of your company. Things are different depending on where you are in that, whether you're a startup or been around for 35 years. I'll call the demographics of your organization, the size, the location, the male, female makeup, certainly the size of the HR team makes a difference. And as Josh just shared, the tenure of the team. COVID has, I know we've all had COVID fatigue experiences. It sounds like Marcy and her company have a lot of challenges around that. And it's something that we all have to get better at. Strategy and tactics, as Julie talked about, leadership development programs, understanding what you're going to have to look at your strategy differently. And then from a tactic perspective, there's so many different things that we have to innovate upon in order to get through these COVID times. And the fire squad, that's always one us HR people talk about, is always putting out fires, and yet they're supposed to be leading the strategic effort for the people of the organization. And then also change management, we all deal with that. So great conversation. Please continue that after we're together here today. From a continuous improvement perspective, I will say one of the biggest struggles for leadership at all levels that I dealt with when I was at State Farm was their commitment to continuous improvement. I had to, we would rate in the top 3 departments across State Farm, and then we would move up and we're number 1 year from an employee engagement survey perspective, which is very, very important at State Farm. But then I would have folks, and it was whether it was my senior leadership and my team or all the way down to the supervisor level, they thought, well, let's just sit on our laurels, right? We did really well. We don't need to do anything more. And I would always have to encourage them that we have to continue to evolve our people strategy. We all know employees' needs and wants change. Our business, marketplace, and industry changes. We've got to stay on top of that. And I would say, and I'm sure you all would agree, just based on the conversations we've had so far, if anything, those changes are happening even more quickly today. I'll let Tom get into the real nitty gritty of continuous improvement.
Thank you, Andrea, and a little round of applause for facilitating that breakout session. I think the dialogue was amazing, and you gave such a great summary of the key themes and also the importance of continuous improvement. Improvement is not a straight line. It is a compounding interest in some ways, where you reach a milestone, but you can't sit there long and just dwell on it, almost like Andrea just said, because the one constant is change, and as she shared, it's happening in a more rapid fashion than it ever has before. And because of that, we have to continually improve from where we are to where we can go next. Improvement is all about learning. It's about feedback. It's about gaining information and comparing that reality to your goals. So it's an assessment of where you want to be and where you actually are, and making decisions about what you're going to do different in order to advance your organization's mission, vision, values, objectives, make its culture more rich. And that avenue is through strategy. So we've talked a little bit about maybe empty the pockets of challenges. We've done an assessment in some ways. We've collected voice of the customer from each of you as representatives of your organization of things that maybe aren't working. And that feedback is really important to share, because it serves as a catalyst to an organization to say, okay, if that's the perspectives, or if that's the reality of where we are today, what do we need to do with that? And how does that impact our organization's strategy? And then from there, you need to, reevaluate your goals, objectives, and adjust and implement tactics to close those gaps between where you are and where you want to be. And, you cannot do that without resources. And the most important resource in any organization is your human capital. So, that again, just reiterating the importance of having a people strategy, is it's the people that are going to bring forward the passion, the energy to execute, not on just, improved engagement or a more rich culture, but any objectives that your organization has. You cannot do it without your people. So we've already kind of shared and created a shared need that, there's opportunity for improvement in front of us. We know the importance of a people strategy. Now we're going to talk a little bit about some tactics that may be appropriate to help kind of close the gap between where you are and where you want to be. And for me, one of the best ways to do that is to use an acronym called CASE, copy and steal everything. Or another way of saying it is doing some benchmarking against some organizations that are doing this really well, and learning from them in order to adopt some of the things that have worked for them, or avoid some of the things that maybe caused undue risk to them that you can sidestep as a result of, being open-minded and willing to learn from others. So we'll transition now to Kristin, who's going to facilitate us through a quick session on who does this well. So it's a little bit of best practice sharing and comparing and looking at role models and trying to understand what is it that they do that maybe we can start to do as well. So Kristin, I hand it over to you.
Yeah, great. Yes, Marcy, I love that case too, which is a great lead in. Really, this 2020 and now 2021, I think, is really opening up a whole new way of viewing what culture can really be and what it's about. And so as we look at that and we think of culture as this, 1,000-mile journey, all of us are at different parts of that spectrum and on that journey. And in my 10 years of studying behavior change and helping individuals change their behavior, the one thing I know that helps a lot, especially when you're in this phase of what do we do first, what's most important, is to kind of take a look out and identify some of the things that you're seeing amongst peers that might be going on that you think that is something that I would really like to look at how that might look like in our organization. And that doesn't mean that you take someone's people practice and implement it exactly as they have, but what sort of things are really standing out for you? So in the interest of time today, we are going to go ahead and utilize the chat for this. And what we'd like to ask is if there are any role models that you're kind of have been watching, and particularly with this time, I know that there have been leaders who have been coming out in front and center and talking about changing people practices and where their priorities are. If there are role models that you're watching or that you want to learn more about, if you would just pop that in the chat, and I'll ask my friends to kind of help me facilitate that process. But I think it's sort of less about who they are, but maybe what they're actually doing or what has sparked your interest. So I'm going to give you just a minute or two to kind of pop your ideas in the chat box, and we'll kind of digest from there. The one thing I'll just jump in with as you guys are entering that, like your ideas, is I think, and it kind of goes back to the model that Tom had up on the screen, is really, I think that as leaders, we often jump to people practices and what do we need to do first in that bucket, when in reality, where is that vision? So it often, and what I find in organizations, is when the mission, vision, and values has not been clearly defined, or in a lot of cases, maybe, even State Farm, Andrea, if that was defined 90 years ago, it's often like, where does that sit for us now? And particularly with what we've all experienced, and let's be honest, like just the trauma of what we've experienced is changing some of how we view what our organizations can do and should do and what they're about. So I would say, regardless of where all of us are on this culture journey, it really starts with that vision for where you're going, and are the values and behaviors aligned to that vision. So I think that's an important just talking point. And I'll, before I share too much, I want to get an idea of what we're seeing here in the chat room. So, Josh, yes, clear is kind, unclear is unkind, right? I love that. And I know the one other thing I think that's important here is, we start to get into this kind, unkind conversation. And what I always tell leaders is, when we think of culture, it doesn't mean that you have a toxic one, right? This is less about like what you don't have and more about how do we start to change that behavior that really supports the very best in people. And so I think we can get stuck in toxicity when really it's sort of adjusting that language to what is working and let's do more of that, which is the whole continuous improvement model in itself, is getting better at what we're already doing well. Tom, can you kind of talk on gravity payments for a minute?
Yeah, you were the one who actually turned us all on to following Dan Prince by social media, and he is really advocated for what a leader can do for their people as a servant, if they're willing to adopt a servant mindset. And he talks a lot about pay equity and what's currently going on in our economy has the gap between the average daily worker who draws minimum wage or is paid hourly versus a more senior executive who his income has really not been affected. So he talks about the sacrifices he's intentionally made in his own income to ensure that his workforce is able to continue to make their financial obligations during all this time uncertainty. And he's done a lot of really strong statements lately, and it's kind of cool to see someone putting it out there that, hey, we can do better.
Yeah. And I think that vulnerability of, we're not all the way there. We're not where I want us to be. I think goes such a long way to gaining trust in your organization. And if we're all really honest, most everything we're talking about comes back to trust. And that's why I lean so heavily on leadership and really aligning our behaviors to the vision and values that you set for your organization. I think that we can get along this journey and go step 2, 3, and 4. And if you're struggling at that piece, I think it's a really good practice to start to take a look at, okay, let's go back and look at what our company is really about and what is that vision and what are the values and how are we showing up for our people every day. So Marcy, Joel Manby, I'm not familiar with him. Could you speak on that just a little bit?
Yeah, so I stumbled across Joel Manby in a podcast, but truly, if you know 2 Corinthians, it's just incorporating those 7 principles of being patient, kind, trusting, unselfish, truthful, forgiving, and being dedicated. And if you follow those principles, you can lead with love and still be honest and still hold people accountable. You're just putting forth the loving practices that does it all respectfully. It's a very interesting approach, and it's true. It really, when applied correctly, changes your approach and truly makes you more compassionate, but yet you're addressing the issue head on.
That's great. Thank you for offering that. And I think we are actually starting to see the word love being accepted in the workplace, which is really important. I think that this experience has taught us that we are way more alike than we are different. And we are going to have to come together if we want to create better workplaces and a better life for all of us. So I appreciate that. That's a great perspective. I'm trying to get, Mark, you're a Dale Carnegie trainer. That's fantastic, which his principles have been well invested and followed. So I appreciate that for sure. Anything in particular that you lean on with that training?
One of the things about it, we focus on relationships and also how that parlays into the effectiveness of us as a leader. So it's re-emphasized to me the importance of the other person, and we gain credibility by enhancing relationships. We enhance relationships. We use those relationships to influence others. And through the process, we become better and more effective as leaders. So that's the essence of what we do.
Oh, that is excellent, Mark. Thank you for that. And I think that, we are having to learn a lot more skills, and relationships have always been important. But when you enter a life full of this, that's sitting on my desk and the multitude of information coming at us from a tech perspective, it's really important that we not lose sight of connection. And I think, I know Marcy, someone in your group brought that up about being intentional about connection. And that is the essence of high performing teams, is when they feel safe and connected to one another. So I think relationships are at the core of all of this, and we're going to have to learn how to, yes, enjoy our tech, but keep our relationships too. And I think that some of what we're feeling is really understandable given what we've gone through, and even in just the short term or the short run future. So I am checking the time, Tom, and I'm thinking that it might be best to move on to a really looking at, okay, where do we start? And then what can we expect from this process? And we'll go ahead and hand it over to Angie to kind of walk us through that.
Thank you, Kristin. Well, we've talked a lot about continuous improvement and about identifying where you are now and where you want to be. So this people strategy roadmap that you're looking at, this guides you through the steps of creating your own strategy and executing action to support that strategy on through to evaluating and measuring performance. So today's session has really focused on really the first 3 steps. So step 1, which is identifying your why. So why does your organization need and why do they want a strategy that focuses on their people? And what do you plan to accomplish when you go through this exercise? And more importantly, what outcomes do you hope to achieve? So then as we move on to step 2, this is where you're really building a business case and you're focused on getting that executive buy-in and leadership support, which we've talked about several times in this conversation. And we talked about a lot in our breakout as well about how important that leadership buy-in is to all of these initiatives. So, but it's really important to keep in mind that this is not a one-person effort. It doesn't reside just with HR. It doesn't just reside with leadership. It's a group, and you really need the support and partnerships from others within your organization. So this takes us on to step 3, where you can really do a deep dive and assess where you are now and where you want to go. So it's important to take an honest evaluation of the current state and what outcomes you hope to achieve. So actions at any point during this life cycle can and most likely will impact the next stage of this people cycle, this people strategy cycle. So I do also want to point out, and I hope you're going to join us for part 2 next week, because at that point, we're going to then focus on actions to take as you're growing your people strategy and how to measure the reports, how to report back those findings. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is, and Tom talked about this briefly earlier, is a self-assessment. So to help you figure out where you are now in your people strategy and where your efforts are best focused, we've created this self-assessment questionnaire for you. And this document will be emailed to you at the conclusion of today's session. Just a little bit of guidance. So when you're completing this questionnaire, try to assess your organization based on not only your current state, but potential, maybe expected development that your company is going to have. So you'll be making selections of your current status based on many factors that could be impacting your organization. Some of these we've already talked about as well, such as if you've experienced a shift to remote work, or if your organization has recently gone through significant changes within their workforce, potential growth or decline in those numbers. So on the left side of that sheet, there's touch points, the left column, and these list criteria in which you will be evaluating your organization. So just to name a few, like onboarding, performance management, succession planning. So keep in mind, as you go through this evaluation, the changes that you're hoping to experience, it's not an overnight process. And as you're considering what stage you are at this time, you may be jumping to thinking about what next steps do I need to put into place and how am I going to get to that next level? But in order to determine what planning and executing and evaluating needs to be done, honestly, take a great picture of where you're at this given time. So as you go through that sheet, you'll be circling which of those columns best represent your current state. Now you'll notice too on that sheet, we have a note section off to the side. So as you're going through this, and if you find yourself kind of in between stages, that's okay. And you can kind of note that to give yourself a point to say, this is where we're at now, and this is why I marked that we're in the middle of that stage. But most importantly, remember that this is a journey. This is a journey. This is not an overnight. Things are not going to be changed right away. It's a process that you'll be going through with your company. So based on those questionnaire results, you'll have a better idea of what process your organization may need to go through for improvement. So you'll get an understanding of how capable your organization is and how willing they are to accept as you go through the improvement process too. So after completing your self-assessment questionnaire, review to see where you have the most circles. And your results for those columns will help you determine at what point you are in your people strategy. So you may be at as you see over there to the far right, the early journey stage. And this is where you may just be getting started. You're working on your initiatives and gaining buy-in and gaining support. And you may then be moving on to where you find your plan is underway. So you have some steps already in progress, but you need support or direction on maybe prioritizing or what you want to do next. Or you might even be all the way over to the side where your plan is already deployed and you have strategies in place that you're focusing on, but yet you're still focused on continuous improvement. So as I mentioned before, if you find yourself in between stages, that's okay. This is more about uncovering where you are now and where you want to be. So Tom, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Angie. We have just 2 slides left if you're able to hang out. If not, if you got to drop off, thanks for joining us today. So we've spotlighted, and I heard in the conversation that in some ways you're building the plane in the air. So that in some ways is what we're trying to paint here is you've got opportunities around leadership, getting their buy-in and helping them to role model the right behaviors. You have to make those investments, and you have to also work on the key people processes, which this assessment really dives in on, your processes for onboarding, growing and developing, reviewing, evaluating, promoting. Though you have to look at those too. So you have to try to improve and invest in both of those things concurrently. So session 2, we hope that you join us for session 2. We will provide the registration link. That event will be next Friday. And during that time, we will talk about some of the immediate action items that you can act on based on your assessment of where you are, either early journey, plan is underway, or plan is deployed. So I want to hand it over one more time to April, who will close us out. And if people stick around, we'll still do the Q&A.
Thank you, Tom. I want to thank all of Andrea, Angie, Tom, and Kristin for allowing me to be here today. So I am not an HR person. I don't know if you can tell just by me talking, but it's amazing to realize what you can learn and also how you can take those strategies and even apply it to your own self-business. I'm just a self-employed person, but just dealing with people and issues, it's across the board for everyone. So I also got some great input and things that I can take away for myself. So thank you. Thank you for letting me be a part of it. So as we get into this question and answer time, I didn't see many questions asked through the chat. So if you have something that you would like to throw out there or even a discussion, please unmute yourself and do that right now, please.
So I do have a question on the self-assessment. I think what I'm struggling with is that the people strategy. I know I need a people strategy, but the people strategy is a combination of what are you doing for each one of these areas. Do I have that concept right? And am I supposed to, I'm having a kind of a written plan, because the word strategy gets thrown out so much. And I think right now, I know I don't have that overall strategy. So we're doing things like with what I think your self-assessment is great, because I think we're all at these different stages, but it feels very ad hoc and reactive. So how can I get to be proactive? But I love the case concept. I'm like, what can I take? What can I copy? Because I'm stuck on maybe it's more of the format. I know I'm more process person, but any insight?
I can jump in, and then all of you else are welcome to join in as well. So this is really helping you get a great picture of where you are right now. So you can take a look at, for example, on the onboarding section, we give you 3 captions as far as what stage you might be in, what you're doing currently with your organization. So that way, as you go back and you look further at each of these sections, you have a better idea of which one you need to focus more areas of improvement on for the development of that section. So that way you're not spending all your time in one area when you have a lot of other areas that you need to be focusing on, and blending those efforts together.
So the end result is a bunch of, like, basically what you're saying, that you do then have written plans for each one of these areas for improvement.
This is helping you to create those plans. This is helping you have the ability to capture what state you're at right now, so that you can use that to develop those strategies, which is a lot of what we're going to be talking about next week.
And the overall combination is the people strategy.
Exactly.
Okay, I think that is, I need to make that connection because that's been thrown around too often for me.
Yeah, great dialogue. And don't think of this as a check sheet saying you have to work on every single thing of here. You can if it's significantly important to your organization. So don't think that you have to work on each and every one of these. This is just to inform you to make better decisions about the things you work on and why. So more discovery, more input to the design of your plan.
Yeah, I think it's about renovation versus transformation, right? Find the things you're good at, keep those, and then perhaps renovate those, but really look for those renovation opportunities. Most of us don't have to start from scratch. I do. And Brooke, you probably did from a startup perspective. But that's
such a great point, because I think when we get overwhelmed, we feel like we do have to start over. And I think our message for you today is there is something, there's at least a few things that are going really well. Let's capture that. Let's figure out why those are going well and how much of that can we transfer to another area of your people strategy.
And
so
a lot of
not to get overwhelmed.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of it's building blocks. So you're taking what you've learned and what's worked well in one area and potentially applying that in another category as well.
Okay, any other questions or comments? I know everybody's got a work day to get back to, so I just want to say thank you guys for joining us again today. And we have a member of this group that wasn't able to be with us today, but I just kind of wanted to highlight her and what she does. But Sarah Reuter is a part of Elevate Travel Company. And I, in fact, get to work with Sarah myself, so I know her personally and can vouch for everything I'm about to tell you. Sarah has created this amazing platform for us virtually to where we can still travel. I don't know about you guys, but travel has really been limited for us, especially out of country. So she has created these virtual events. And the thing that's really neat about what she does is, and the packages that she's offering, especially for the, corporations, is that you can immerse yourself in the culture and the people in real live in-person event, not in-person, virtual events. Her next event that's coming up, she's actually going to Argentina, and you will be there live in Argentina and get to experience things as you're going along. Last month, we went to Africa on a safari, and we were on a safari truck. We visited Cape Town, all live. It was the most rewarding, surprising thing of my day. I mean, it literally just got me through the whole next week with just a new vigor, I guess. I miss travel. I miss culture. I miss learning about things. So this is a good way to immerse yourself. She does offer corporate packages. You can see her website there. You can visit there for all the different pricing and packages that she does offer. But not only does she offer this, Sarah is an amazing magnetic person. She has a personality that just draws you in. So if you're looking for something unique for your company, something unique for your members that, you know, can reinvigorate them. I know COVID fatigue is real, and this is something maybe that can highlight their day and just give them something positive to look forward to for the year. So other than that, I think we are going to just wrap this up. And again, thank you guys for coming. And we for sure want to see you back in session 2. Make sure that you do register with the separate link for register for session 2. Am I correct on that, Tom? There's 2 different registrations. So
yes,
be sure to sign up for that if you haven't already. And we'll see you guys next Friday.